This is part 4. So the first question asks, at the beginning of the film, Paul places far greater value on protecting his family than protecting his neighbors, but as the film progresses, his sense of obligation to his neighbors and his countrymen deepens. Indeed, rather than abandoning the refugees he's sheltering, he sends his family safety while he stays behind. How does this line up with your own values and beliefs? I believe that Paul was doing the right thing in the beginning when he was just protecting his family because obviously family comes first and everything. But I think that he then realized that this was a far greater problem than just his family and that he needed to step up and save not only his family but everyone. The second question says the UN colonel tells reporters that his troops are peacekeepers, not peacemakers. By UN mandate, UN troops were permitted to use their weapons only in self-defense. If the colonel had disobeyed orders and authorized the troops to fire on inner-Hami fighters, would he have done the right thing? What would you have done in the situation? Honestly, I think that him having enough self-control to not fire on the fighters and killing them all shows that he's a bigger person in the situation. And I also think that just because you have weapons doesn't mean that you need to kill everybody having you come in contact with them. Like, obviously, if someone was making advances at you and tried to kill you, that's a whole different situation than them just running by you and saying things. Like, you have to have enough self-discipline to not just kill everybody that you see. The third question says, do you agree that racism played a role in the international community's failure to act to stop the genocide, as the UN colonial says? The film makes no mention of either possible contributing factors, such as the disastrous U.S. humanitarian intervention in Somalia in 1993, less than a year before, which ended after a U.S. helicopter was shot down and the bodies of U.S. soldiers were dragged through the streets of Mogadishu. Does this justify the U.S. and the UN's refusal to intervene? Honestly, I don't think that racism did have a role in the international not helping. I think this was more of a problem that happened in Rwanda, and it was more two Rwanda tribes coming at each other, which the U.S. didn't really have anything to do with. I think that the UN, honestly, they could have helped, but I don't think that racism was a part of it. Um, Another question says, how do you see racism playing a role in the U.S. today? Honestly, racism is still a really big problem in the U.S. You see it everywhere. You see people discriminating others based on their race, the color of their skin, which isn't right. Honestly, like, God created all people equally, so the fact that we still have racism today in 2020 is beyond me. It's crazy because everyone's equal, so I think everyone should be treated that way. Question 4. There are about 100,000 individuals suspected of committing acts of genocide who are imprisoned in Rwanda. This represents a huge emotional and financial burden to all parties. There needs to be a way in which Rwanda society deals with the issue of justice and reconciliation. Justice. Should an admission of guilt be a required step in each trial? I do think that everyone should honestly own up to what they did. Like, they should have to admit that yes, they were part of this mass genocide. Reparations, should this be considered? How much? How should they be awarded? I do think it should be considered as much possible. What should this consist of? Jail time, death penalty? Honestly, if you can kill people, I think that you should be killed. The fact that this mass genocide even happened is crazy. The fact that people could just go out on the streets and murder innocent men, women, children, babies, anything like that. That is something that should have been put a stop to. So if you are in prison because you did these things, if you can kill others, you should be killed. In my opinion, that's how it should go.